You must lose yourself to find yourself. That's kind of what I learned this year. I know that's like a concept that is commonly spoken about, but sometimes you just have to kind of go through an experience to actually kind of realize what people say when they say certain things. Like sometimes you just kind of have to let go. You can't be like too fixated on things. That's like a lesson that I think every human kind of just learns throughout their life. I feel like it's a common thing that I've kind of reflected on, like any sort of obsession that you misconceptualize and think is a healthy, quote unquote, obsession or a healthy habit, sometimes really isn't. Kind of just to give it a just to kind of give it a more of a context on kind of my perspective and what I went through. I'm a guitarist, I'm a musician, and I've always kind of seen myself as such, like I've always really fixated on that kind of identity since maybe around high school when I got serious into guitar. I got into guitar when I turned around like 10 or 11, like that's when when I was like, I want to learn how to play guitar, but at that point I wasn't like, oh yeah, I'm a guitarist, like that wasn't like my identity or anything. But I think around 15 years old when I got my first electric guitar, that's when that kind of identity like really held on and latched onto me. And those were my beginnings. I was still like fiddling around, trying to like play some basic solos, basic riffs. I was never a disciplined guitar player. Maybe up until like recently, in the last couple days, I haven't really been a disciplined guitar player. Well, but we'll get into that. So yeah, I would just kind of just practice any free time I got, very overly obsessed with the guitar. And I was kind of just like, yeah, I'm gonna become the songwriter. And I didn't really become a songwriter till right before college, when I started writing music that summer. And I was like, okay, I'm starting to like cohesively put together lyrics and put together music. That's when I really found my identity as a musician. My freshman year, I kind of just met a bunch of people in college, and then eventually the summer before my sophomore year, that's when I started my first band. And I think I remember making this distinct goal with the band where I was like, man, at the 5-year mark, if I haven't done anything of significance with this project, I should probably just let it go. So I was in it for at least 5 years. And guess what I manifested? I manifested a 5-year kind of project that has currently happened. And one of the goals that I made for myself was to play the House of Blues by the 5-year mark. And guess what? My band actually got that gig. But guess what? We got it taken away. We got it stolen from us the day before it got canceled. That was a big bummer. That was a big sign from the universe that I took it as, because I had made that deal to myself, 5 years ago. I was like, man, if I haven't played the House of Blues by 5 years, I don't think it's worth it. I don't think I should be a musician or I should be a guitarist. I don't know if it was that serious, but I knew it was at least that project. But that's just kind of part of the story. This whole year had been a big career mindset change for me. Like I was so fixated on using music and becoming a musician or a guitarist as an outlet to actually get out of my career job, get out of my 8-to-5 job. But the lesson that I realized by the end of the year, after just mentally struggling with it and being in the worst mind state about it, because I was working an 8-to-5 type of gig at a company that I really quite didn't really enjoy, but it was a great stepping stone for me. It was a great career move for me, especially during the pandemic, because it was just the right opportunity that presented itself. I met so many cool people. It was such a great experience. I'm really glad I went through it, but I had a little bit of a bad mindset going into it, just because I was so fixated on being this musician, guitarist person, I was like, that's my actual identity, I reject this 8-to-5. It was kind of like a superhero moment, where you put on your superhero outfit at the end of the night, you Clark Kent it, so you go to the job with your little glasses on, you're just all straight edge and you're all uptight, but then once you get out of the job, you rip open the costume and boom, I'm a guitarist. I'm like this night cat, you know, I'm gonna go party with my band and, you know, play some awesome shows during the weekend or whatever not, and make cool records and go to the studio in the weekend. And like, you know, I was living the superhero dream. It was crazy, you know. And it all came crashing and burning down when things didn't really go the right way, and I was ignoring important things, such as just taking care of myself, like my health, eating right, going to the gym. Once I started like letting go of all those little good habits, and it was just replaced by guitarist man, that really messed me up. That really messed me up. But thankfully, things got to a bursting point. Went through a bunch of like stuff that really shaped me back into a musician. There was a couple months there where I was like, all right, I'm putting on the guitar. I got a new job. I was like, all right, I'm gonna like focus myself into this job. I'm gonna like slow way the hell down, like not really focus on just, you know, the band. I'm just gonna kind of like put it all to the side and kind of just focus on taking care of myself. And in doing so, I refound myself. Last couple days, I've found myself really liking playing guitar. There was a good point there where I just couldn't pick it up. Like I just couldn't get myself to like improve on it. And that was actually for a long time. That was actually for years. I was so fixated on being a musician that I didn't really work on, or I was so fixated on being a guitarist, I didn't really make sure that I was becoming that better musician. I was constantly improving, and all my like chops and skills really just came from like over practicing and over playing shows, which, you know, it's a great way to build chops, but my goodness, I wasn't putting discipline into it. Discipline is the word. But yeah, I found myself, once I broke a bunch of my bad atomic habits, you know, just like shadow work. Look into shadow work if you've never heard of that. That's a new concept that I've been kind of like shown recently. And doing shadow work, catching yourself, just like a quick thing on what shadow work is like, catching yourself doing your bad habits, realizing in that moment and immediately not doing them. You know, just like if you're about to like go into a bad habit mode, if you're about to go grab something that you shouldn't be grabbing, you just go, maybe I shouldn't do that this time. Maybe I shouldn't go to that vice this time. I'm gonna walk away from that vice, and I'm just gonna go watch a show. I'm just gonna lay down, or I'm gonna pick up the guitar and play it rather, or do whatever your hobby or passion that you're trying to build up into is. And eventually just fixing my health habits, putting myself in a better environment, kind of just working towards my necessities, the things that you need to survive. A roof over your head, good health, make sure that you can afford food, make sure that you can afford rent, make sure you're surrounding yourself with good people, make sure you're not always going out to ignore all your problems. Like, take some time, focus on yourself, kind of analyze yourself. It's gonna be really hard, trust me. The last couple months, I've really struggled. I realized this whole year has just been like, started at the top, like I was doing real good at the beginning of the year, trust me. And then it's just like a slow decline. There were some good moments here and there, but it's mostly a slow decline. I hit rock bottom. And then towards the end of this year now, I'm starting to like slowly work my way up. And I really see that because I've found that like vigor to play guitar again. And I actually had kind of given up. I was like, man, I really just can't get myself to do it. But I've always wanted to learn some country guitar. And I've started learning some country guitar, and my God, I'm doing some chicken picking, and I'm starting to get some calluses on my other fingers, and like it kind of reminds me of when I first learned to play guitar, and I was getting my calluses on my fretting finger, all my fretting fingers, and so when this like little bump or callus started to like pop up, it made me really happy. I was like, oh wow, new experience. It feels like I'm learning to play guitar again, because I'm just learning new techniques and learning the things that I've been avoiding and not disciplining myself with for the past years. Like, you know, when you go, I'm gonna go learn this thing, and then it's like whoosh, 5 years later and you haven't learned that thing, you're like, I should probably just freaking sit down and learn the thing. It'll take me a couple hours, and then I just have to practice over and over until it becomes muscle memory. But in order to be able to do that, you have to have a clear head. You cannot be distracted by your job. You can't criticize your job. You can't have that take over your life. If you're in a fighter if you're in a fight or flight mode your whole life, or your whole like being, like from the moment you wake up, you have to fix that first in order to get further. So yeah, that's just kind of something I wanted to reflect upon as I go into making videos on this channel. This is also something I've been putting aside for years, but I have a lot more experience to reflect on, and I think I'm able to see things a little bit more clearly as an older person than if I started this when I was a little bit younger. So I'm excited to keep making videos, but yes, sometimes you must lose yourself to find yourself. Just keep going, just keep on swinging. Those bad times, as long as you work on yourself, as long as you try to actively improve on those bad times, even though they suck, even though your mind might be against you, if you fight forward, you will make it. I'm Guitar Thick, and thank you for tuning into this video.